The 2025 Call of Duty League season is here, and with the new year comes a new game in Black Ops 6. And with new organizations entering the league, a whole load of roster mania, and plenty of drama to keep us entertained, it's time to break down everything you need to know heading into the new season. So whether you're a returning fan looking for a bit of a refresher on the storylines, or a new fan just getting into the scene, I'm going to cover it all in this video. And let's kick it right off with the new franchises, the new organizations that have just joined the CDL for this coming season. And we're going to start out with Gentlemates, the massive French esports organization boasting over 250,000 followers on Twitter, has combined with the Los Angeles Guerrillas to form the LA Guerrillas Mates. A kind of long and confusing name, but it looks like they didn't get their paperwork done on time, so they sort of had to make do with what they had. But with the Gentlemates taking over a majority of this spot in the league, they decided to bring back the core of the 2022 World Championship New York Subliners roster with Skies, Priest, and Kismet, and then staying true to their roots, brought in a French SMG player hot off of his rookie season in Linz. This team, of course, looking to solidify itself among the French and EU fandom in COD esports. Moving along to our second of the three new organizations we have in the league, we have Vegas Falcons, who purchased the spot from the Vegas Legion. Team Falcons, one of the richest esports organizations in the world, decided not to splash the cash on a big roster, but stayed true to the players they've been developing for the past 2 years in EU Challengers. The roster of Xnid, King of Body, Roxas, and Khalid are looking to come over to NA and prove that the Saudi esports scene has what it takes to compete with the best. But with very low expectations from the community for this team, it truly is their goal to hopefully not be the worst team to play in the CDL. And last but not least, for our new franchises, an org that's been in the scene for a little bit now, it is Cloud9 New York, who acquired the New York Subliner spot in the middle of last season, but now has fully rebranded. C9 is one of the biggest organizations in all of North American esports and has a little bit of history in COD, but with some interesting decisions this offseason to sell their superstar player in Hydra, and of course let go of Skies and Kismet, who went to LAG as we talked about previously. C9 stuck with one of their AR players from last year and are pairing him up with a veteran AR, I think the second oldest player in the league, in Attach. But despite being a veteran, Attach still has a lot left in the tank, coming off of a really good season last year in MW3. And C9 has rounded out their roster with an X-Factor SMG duo of Mac and Kremp. Mac, who did not play at all professionally last season, and Kremp, who's coming off of a season with LA Thieves where he definitely had some inconsistencies, but by the end of the year was definitely a quality player. This is a team that's looking to compete for that fourth best spot in Black Ops 6 and will likely be middle of the pack a lot of the season. But speaking of middle of the pack, let's talk about some of the other rosters that are kind of sitting in this vicinity. And we're going to start it off with the Minnesota Rocker, slightly redoing their logo to show a bit more of their owners, G2 Esports. The Rocker are a team who got top 4 at Major 1 last year, but ended up falling off big time and didn't even qualify for champs. And this year they built a young and hungry team, signing 2 rookies from last season in Estriel and Geo, as well as bringing in Nero, an SMG player coming off his best season of his career, and Paul X, a player who has not been in the league for a couple seasons now, but definitely has a chip on his shoulder and is trying to prove that he should be a mainstay in the league. Moving it along to another team that likely has a bit of a chip on their shoulder, it is the Miami Heretics, not making any roster changes from last year after getting top 6 at champs and then losing in the group stage of EWC. Miami Heretics have kept their core roster of Real, Vickle, Metals, and Lucky, as well as signed Challengers player Rencor to kind of be a substitute player or could potentially be a starter on this team. As of right now, we don't really know if he's going to be on the bench or start, but this roster definitely made waves last season, sort of forming its own new rivalry with OPTIC Texas, after Vickle definitely ruffled some feathers, calling out the green wall, and then Pred, of course, biting right back. This is definitely a season for the Miami Heretics where they're looking to prove Spanish COD can compete at the highest level. Keeping it going, let's talk about the Vancouver Surge, previously known as the Seattle Surge, but moved their team over to Vancouver, Canada. The Surge kept their young rookie duo from last season in Abuza and O4, a very quality duo who definitely had a lot of shining moments last season. But this year, of course, making a 2-man change, bringing in Nasty from the LA Thieves, who last year and especially at the end of the year at EWC was one of the better players in the game. And then of course bringing in Hixie, a player who won an event and got second place at champs just 2 years ago in Modern Warfare 2, but did not play in the league at all last season. This is another team that's definitely hungry to prove they have what it takes and can be a consistent slaying force, as that is going to be the X factor for them this year in BO6. And finally, to round out the middle of the pack teams, one of the teams that's maybe going to be closer to the bottom, it is the Boston Breach. The Breach last year only won a handful of games, and they were one of the worst teams of all time. But then they found a little bit of success at the Esports World Cup and decided to keep that roster heading into this coming season. This team of Snoopy, Purge, Cammy, and Awakening really all are fighting for their spots in the league, and if they do not perform well, might not even get a spot going forward. And Snoopy, of course, a player coming off his rookie year, definitely received a lot of criticism with rumors of him not knowing spawns and overall just being not really a great teammate last year. So to all the Boston Breach fans out there, I'd keep your head up. I really don't think it could be any worse than last season. But now let's talk about our best of the rest, the teams who are hopefully going to be fighting for top 4, like Cloud9, who I mentioned earlier at the beginning of the video. First up, we got the Carolina Royal Ravens, a team who had a pretty up and down year last year and didn't end up qualifying for champs, but they kept their SMG duo of Gwyn and Tej. Gwyn, of course, coming off of his Rookie of the Year season last year, and they brought in oldest player in the league, veteran world champion AR player in Slasher, and then to run their flex role, a player who has historically been an SMG his entire career in Reese Vivid. This is the team who's been performing really well in the preseason and doing pretty good in the kickoff tournaments, but definitely is going to have their work cut out for them if they want to be a top 4 team this season. And the second team that's looking to keep themselves in the top 4 like they have been for a very long time now, it is the Toronto Ultra. Ultra, of course, selling their superstar player in Scrap, as well as losing one of the best role players in the game in Envoy, but of course kept their EU duo in Kleenex and Insight, pairing alongside another EU player in Beans, someone who's had inconsistencies across rosters, but now playing with the best team he's ever had, is looking to prove that he can be one of the best ARs in the game. And then they've rounded out their roster with the youngest player in the league, Joe Deceives, who's now going into his 3rd season. And Jody proved last season that his ceiling is super high, and he's gonna put in the work it takes to be one of the best. But now it's time to talk about the big 3, the teams that are gonna be at the top of the standings all year long, fighting it out on Championship Sunday at every single major. And let's start it off with the team that's looked at as the villains of the CDL. It is Atlanta FaZe. FaZe has been number 1 in the regular season standings all 5 years of the CDL, but unfortunately got a top 6 finish at COD Champs last year, but then rebounded well and won the Esports World Cup. FaZe, of course, keeping their team together despite there being rumors of them maybe making a roster change after Champs. But as I said, that win at EWC back in August really helped keep the team together. So with the tiny terrors of Simp and Abizi, Simp, of course, coming off of an MVP year last year, and then, of course, their ARs in Draza and Celium, this is a roster that's looking to prove their chance performance this past season was a fluke. But now let's talk about the newest super team in the league, the LA Thieves. Thieves had a roller coaster of a year last year, making a 3-man change and only keeping around Dan Ghosty, who truly was the backbone and MVP of the team last year at MW3. Thieves really did splash the cash, signing 2 of the best 3 players from previous seasons in Hydra and Scrap. Hydra, of course, a world champion MVP back in 2023 in Modern Warfare 2. And Scrap, only going into the 3rd year of his career, has pretty much been unanimously the best AR in the league. And then rounding out the team with a legend in the LA Thieves camp, it's Envoy, a player who won champs with Thieves back in Vanguard. This team definitely has high expectations put on them from the community, and if they do not perform early on, are definitely going to catch a lot of flack online. But this is a roster that's looking to prove that all that money they spent was well worth it. And last but not least, let's round it out with the reigning world champions, the fan favorite in all of COD esports, it's OPTIC Texas. If you have played COD or watched any COD at all, you of course know OPTIC Gaming and OPTIC Texas, their CDL franchise. Keeping their team of Shotzi, Pred, Kenny, and Dashy going into this season of BO6. Of course, Shotzi coming off a year where he won 2 MVPs. This roster is looking to be the first to ever go back-to-back at COD Champs. And if they do so, might be solidifying themselves as another one of the dynasties in COD esports. But no matter what, this season's looking like it's going to be off to a hot start, with the first matches being on December 6th and then major one starting on January 30th. The storylines and the drama are only going to continue to get better as the season progresses. And with this new game in Black Ops 6, it's looking like we're going to be in for a banger year of competitive COD. So let me know down in the comments, who is your favorite team? What team are you rooting for this season in 2025? And if you want to stay up to date with everything that's happening this year, definitely make sure you sub to the channel, because I'm going to keep you posted all year long. So with all that being said, hopefully you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next one.